5th Gen 4Runner versus 6th Gen 4Runner. Does the 6th Gen 4Runner actually get better gas mileage? Toyota says that it does. Today, we are going to find out. So today we're going to take both the 5th Gen and the 6th Gen 4Runner on a 1,000-mile road trip on and off-road to some of Colorado's most iconic trails. During this trip, we're going to be measuring the gas mileage on our 5th Gen and on our 6th Gen 4Runner. Now, this isn't going to be a perfectly fair comparison. It is good to note that both our 5th Gen and our 6th Gen 4Runner are heavily modified. Neither are stock. The 5th Gen's on 33s, the 6th Gen is on 35-inch tires, but we think these two configurations right here are about what most people would do when they moderately build out their 4Runner. So we feel this is a pretty fair comparison for most people. We're going to try and make it as fair as possible, and we'll see which one actually performs better. Now, we're going to be doing this comparison for gas mileage during a 5-day overlanding trip for us hitting the southern San Juan Mountains of Colorado. Now, there will be a full trip vlog video coming for this trip, as well as videos for each of the awesome trails that we hit out there, so make sure you guys are subscribed to see when those videos go live. But in today's video, we're just going to be showing you the results of our gas mileage comparison. One really important thing to note is that our 6th Gen 4Runner is the non-hybrid version. It does not have the hybrid powertrain. We have it moderately built out. It has a CBI front bumper. It does have full skids from CBI, as well as a Princely roof rack and a nice heavy rooftop tent. For this comparison, we are both going to be using the digital sensor on the vehicle, as well as calculating the mileage and gas mileage manually every time we go to fill up. So we got both 4Runners here behind me. We're gonna fill both of them up right now at Maverick gas station. We've got a 6-hour drive down to Telluride. We're gonna record the highway miles per gallon, and then when we get out there, we're gonna be hitting some trails, and we're gonna record the off-road miles per gallon. Jordan, which one do you think is gonna get better gas mileage, the 5th or the 6th Gen?
The 6th Gen.
Why?
Because, so here's the thing, it's interesting. Like bone stock, like you said, like the 5th Gen had pretty similar gas mileage to the 6th Gen bone stock. But for some reason, I feel like once we added all the weight to both of them, that thing goes farther with its gas mileage with all the weight than this thing. So obviously still not as heavy as this, but it's like a pretty significant difference. So the 6th Gen, I think will do better. And we're going to be at altitude the whole time, like extreme altitude, and we're going to be losing so much power in this because it's naturally aspirated. That thing will be able to perform pretty similar to the whole drive. So
that's a good point.
That's something that I think we weren't thinking about that until just now. So yeah, 6th Gen's got my money. So.
But Connor, which one do you think is going to get better gas mileage, the 5th or the 6th?
Well, it's a good question. The 6th Gen has bigger tires on it, and I don't like. I'm just gonna drive normal, and I'm never very aware of the gas mileage. I'm like, it's just gonna fall where it falls, and I'll just drive normal. But I still think the 6th Gen is gonna do a little bit better.
Now, while at this Maverick gas station, we made sure to fill up completely both the 5th Gen and the 6th Gen and record the odometer mileage, as well as reset our trip sensor. Now, the first stop for us is going to be Moab, Utah, which is exactly 200 miles south of our warehouse located in Orem, Utah. Now, when we made it to Maverick in Moab, Utah, both 4Runners had gone exactly 184 miles according to the readings on the odometer. Now, this is where it gets just a little bit confusing. I apologize for this. This is going to be a little bit weird. But these are the actual results we got, so it's going to be a little bit confusing here just because the numbers just happen to correlate the way that they did, which makes it a little bit weird to read, but here it is. So on the 6th Gen 4Runner, we used a total of 11.094 gallons of gasoline to travel those 184 miles from Orem to Moab, Utah, which calculates to about 16.585 miles per gallon, or about 16 and a half, a little over 16 and a half miles per gallon highway driving from Orem to Moab. Now, here's where it's going to get a little bit confusing, and this is just the way that these numbers worked out, so it's going to be a little bit weird here. But the 5th Gen 4Runner ended up using 16.6 gallons of gasoline to travel that same 184 miles down to Moab, Utah, which averaged out to about 11.07 miles per gallon. So for simplicity's sake, you can say the 5th Gen 4Runner is getting 11 miles per gallon highway, and the 6th Gen is getting 16 and a half. Now, what about the sensors on the vehicles themselves? When we got to Moab, the 5th gen was actually saying it was getting 12 miles per gallon, and the 6th gen was saying that it was getting 14.1. So do with that information whatever you will. Our manual calculation suggests that the 6th gen was actually getting closer to 16 across the entire drive, while the sensor was saying 14.1 when we reached town, and then the 5th gen seemed like it was getting closer to 11 based on our manual calculation, but the vehicle was saying 12. Now, from Moab, we drove another few hours out to Telluride, Colorado, which is where we camped for the first night. Honestly, the gas mileage was so similar on our drive from Moab to Telluride that it's not even really worth noting. The 6th gen managed to get roughly 16 miles per gallon, while the 5th gen was still between 11 and 12 miles per gallon for that drive. Then the next morning, we filled up at the gas station right before hitting Imogene Pass. Today we are here in Colorado, and we're going to do one of the most famous trails in all of Colorado. We are taking the 5th gen 4Runner and the 6th gen 4Runner on Imogene Pass. Now, it's important to note that on Imogene Pass, we did spend a lot of time filming things and having the vehicles running. We also did drive a little bit differently to try and compare the vehicles for an off-road comparison video we have coming. So driving isn't going to be exactly what most people would do off-road, but we ended up getting slightly worse gas mileage according to our manual calculation on both vehicles. When we filled up before and when we filled up again after, turns out by our manual calculation that the 6th gen 4Runner was getting about 11 miles per gallon and the 5th gen 4Runner was getting about 9 miles per gallon off-road. After we completed Imogene Pass, we had another trail lined up in the same area. On that trail, we ended up getting very similar gas mileage once again. This time, it was a lot steeper, and the 5th gen ended up averaging about 8 miles per gallon according to our manual calculation, while the 6th gen was still averaging about 11. Now, we still had one final day of off-roading ahead of us where we would do Black Bear Pass. Once again, after doing Black Bear Pass, this is when we filled up. We didn't get a perfect comparison because we weren't able to fill up with gas just before starting Black Bear Pass, simply because of where the trailhead is located. There's quite a bit of highway driving before you actually get to the trailhead itself. However, when we filled up again in town, in Telluride, we noticed that the gas mileage on the 5th gen was averaging right around 11.5 miles per gallon, while the 6th gen was averaging about 15. And finally, we have the drive back to our location in Orem, Utah after 5 days of off-road driving. On this trip, the results were very similar to the results we had on the way down, with the 5th gen 4Runner averaging about 10.5 miles per gallon, with the 6th gen 4Runner averaging about 16 miles per gallon. Now, one thing that is worth noting is that we thought the 6th gen 4Runner would have a significant advantage at altitude over the 5th gen 4Runner because of it not being a naturally aspirated V6 up there where the oxygen is very thin. But in the end, we actually found the 5th gen seemed to do better off-road as far as gas mileage and gas consumption, simply because whenever you would have to go over an obstacle, you would have to wait for the turbo to spool up before you could clear certain obstacles in those lower gears on the 6th gen 4Runner, something that both Connor and Jordan mentioned. Something really interesting about it is we did not actually notice any issues with the naturally aspirated V6 at those extreme altitudes in the 5th gen, especially when compared to directly against the 6th gen. So, kind of interesting that the 6th gen got slightly worse gas mileage off-road, at least if it were getting the same gas mileage to begin with. Still got better gas mileage overall, but it was a little bit more gas when clearing obstacles off-road. So there you have it. We hope this video was helpful and you learned something about the gas mileage between the 5th and the 6th gen. We do have some pretty awesome trail videos and some more head-to-head videos for the 5th and the 6th gen 4Runner coming to this channel, so make sure you guys are subscribed. If you want to see something specifically compared between the 5th and the 6th gen, let us know in the comments and we will make a video to show it.